When I was in high school, in English class, we had to memorize each semester a couple hundred lines of prose or poetry for all 4 years. And I've mentioned this before in other articles. That single requirement, I detested. I hated it. I hated to have to sit back, memorize something, and try to remember it enough that I could go in front of my English teacher and say, what is the rarest day in June, whatever. Having said that I hated it in high school, it was the best thing that ever happened to me in high school. A day does not go by that I'm not writing about, mentioning in a lecture to one of my classes, or writing about it in an article. There's not a day that goes by that I am not quoting something that I had memorized 50 years ago. One of the examples of this was something that Teddy Roosevelt, he gave a great speech in the Sorbonne in Paris about just over a century ago. And in this speech, there's one single paragraph that, if anybody knows anything about that speech at the Sorbonne, that one paragraph, which is often called Man in the Arena, was one of those short paragraphs that I had memorized. And Teddy Roosevelt has said in part of that, The Man in the Arena, if he fails, at least he fails daring greatly. That what Teddy Roosevelt was trying to say is, go, do what you need to do, say what you need to say, and if you fail, at least you have given an example of your dedication and your commitment to whatever the issue was. Shakespeare said essentially the same thing in Julius Caesar when he had Caesar say to the people, the cowards die many times before their death, the valiant take the death but once. So essentially Shakespeare and Roosevelt were saying, go do it. Don't worry about failure, do it. I was going to write an article about it, the article you were about to read, and I went to the internet and I was looking for something that would catch my eye that I could use in this article. And I came across a quotation by John Cleese. For anybody that's 50 or older, John Cleese is an idol for us. He was a great English comedian. He's been in movies, he's been on television, and he's just a great actor and a great comedian. And he said that nothing will stop you being creative more effectively than the fear of failure. And what Cleese is trying to get us to understand is essentially what Roosevelt and Shakespeare wanted us to understand. You might wonder why I noticed that quote from John Cleese. 20 years ago, I was writing a book on success. Incidentally, the book was not successful. I never got it put together enough, and it is not on the top of my list of things to do in the next 10 or 20 years. But I wrote, and this is not emails, but these were actually snail mails to probably 50 or 60 different, what I consider successful people. And John Cleese is certainly one of the successful people. I sent out those 50 or 60 letters, and interestingly, I got probably a handful back with their responses. But I didn't hear from John Cleese. until one morning I was getting up, getting ready to go to work, and the telephone rang. And it was John Cleese in England. And he said to me, "I'm sorry I didn't write something. I was busy, still am, don't have a lot of time. But I was moved to write to you to help you." And he gave me some ideas. One of them was to continue to fight the good fight and don't give up. Essentially what he said on the internet. I'll never forget that moment of listening to John Cleese calling me from London, somebody he has never heard of. There's no reason why he should have or had to do that, but he did. And every time I hear his name or see his face, I remember that moment 20 years ago. And I have benefited not only from John Cleese, the comedian, but I've also benefited from John Cleese, the thinker, the person who is not fearful of failure. And that is a lesson that all of us need to benefit, from which we need to benefit. We need to go out and do what needs to be done without fear and trembling. In the meantime, you take care and go fight the good fight. Thank you.